Hi everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Relationship Wednesdays, even though it's happening on a Thursday this week. I was busy yesterday, so it's happening today. So I'm gonna bring in, you know who I'm bringing in. I'm bringing in Chef Kev in the building. Hey
What up? What
everybody,
up? What up? How
what's
y'all
going
doing?
on? Right, everybody.
Nothing.
So we'll get started with our topic for tonight. But before we actually even get started with our topic, I want to say that next Wednesday, a special guest is coming through. Her name is Ramina. Say Barksdale. It's her it's an echo. Are you doing something, Kev?
Okay, I got it.
All right. So a special guest is coming in the building. Hey Tia, she wrote a book called Behind the Shades. It is available on Amazon. I believe on Amazon the book is about $20. I'm gonna hold it up now. I'm covering a piece of it because it's a little graphic, but kind of hope y'all can see that. Am I holding it up good there? Behind the shades. So she will be in the building to kind of talk to us about her book, about what she went through. But I'm just going to read a little bit of her introduction. It would be nice if you're going to join us next week, Wednesday. You don't have to. Be nice if you get her book, read it, so that you'll be able to engage also. So introduction. So she said, "My name is Marie, Ramina. And as I write this book on DV and toxic relationships, it is the fact that I am getting out of one right now that compelled me to start this project. I have been in multiple abusive and toxic relationships, not by choice, but subconsciously. I have chosen what I think I deserve. I wrote this book for two reasons. Reason one, for the people who don't understand why women trapped in toxic domestic relationships don't leave right away, and the steps and phases some of us may go through in these relationships. I want to try to help them understand the importance of supporting people in these situations. Reason two, for women who are currently trying to get out of these situations and feel that it is impossible, I'm letting them know that they are not alone in outlining the steps they need to take um, to get help and get out. And people always ask, why do you stay? Or what is it about him that you just won't leave? In this book, I will answer these questions based on a group of women who have been in abusive situations. A battered woman isn't done for staying. She needs help. This kind of relationship makes a woman feel worthless, and that this abuser is all she will have. And most times there are financial reasons for fear of abandonment and low self-esteem. The person isn't amongst it to them. He or she was everything they thought he wanted them to be in the beginning. It always starts out correctly. So that is so true. I don't know, are you with us, Kevin? It's so true that I think people, when they're in relationships, all relationships, I think for the most part, they start out good. Like, it's a good thing, it's a great thing. But I'm not going to go through much more. I just kind of wanted to give her introduction, and she will be in the building. Born Newark, New Jersey, so she will be in the building next Wednesday. I'm super excited that she's going to come through and stop by, and I think it's going to be a major conversation. The book is not it's not a lot of pages, so I think it's an easy read. And as I stated, you can get it on Amazon. So I'm looking forward to having her in the building next week. So we will get into our topic for the night. And our topic for the night, where we're going to start out, we're starting out with bedroom rules, so to speak. I don't know if I should use the word rules, but the bedroom rules that you and your mate have. What do you think about having or establishing, rules for the bedroom and maybe rules for your relationship? And I will say this to kind of tag on that topic that we're going to talk about next week when the author of Behind the Shades come is just recently I read in the news or I saw in the news that a cop, can you imagine, actual NYPD was in a relationship with her girlfriend, came home waiting for the girlfriend, and the girlfriend's coming home with some other chick, or she came home and walked to them, in the home together. The thing is, there's a show called Snap, right? And I think the thing is with situations like that, my whole thing is, one, if you're done with somebody, be adult enough to tell them and just leave them. Like, I don't get cheating. I don't understand it. And you know what? Okay, fine. Maybe cheating happens, okay? But be adult enough to say, once it happened, and just move on. Just move on is all I can say. So we'll circle back, Kevin. We'll start with these bedroom rules. What are your thoughts?
Bedroom rules. There are a couple of rules, I can understand. Um, People have different rules. They'll go to bed mad. Don't sleep in a different room. Um, to me, that's one of them. You're gonna go to sleep. Go to sleep in the bed. We all have watched TV and fell asleep on the couch, and done that. But for the most part, if you're gonna go to sleep, you go to sleep in the bed. Um, don't steal all the covers. That's my thing. I hate, like, why am I fighting for the comforter? Because you want to snatch it and wrap it around you. Um, and just bedroom rules is my thing. Is what happens in the bedroom stays in the bedroom. That's my number one rule. That means pillow talk, whatever. Don't go tell your girlfriend what we talked about while we was cuddled up and run your mouth. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be my other half, so you should be able to keep a secret. So that's one of my rules. That's why my number one rule, along with don't steal the covers.
Don't steal the covers. Well, I think that establishing rules or boundaries for your relationship is something important that couples should do in the very beginning, and to have an understanding and make sure that both of you are okay with the boundaries and the understanding. You don't want to find out late in the relationship that you want one thing and your mate wants something totally different. So that's why I really think that it is important. We, during Relationship Wednesdays, and I know today is Thursday, so it's kind of throwing us off. We talk a lot about communication and the fact that, the key to a good relationship is communication. And you have to really be open to having certain conversations with your mate, especially if you want your relationship to last long, especially if you want longevity in your relationship. And so, some of my bedroom rooms is, one, I have to be comfortable with everything that we're going to do or we want to do. Two, I gotta trust you as my mate, because if I don't trust my mate, then for me, nothing good is ever going to happen. Um, Three, the only people allowed, and I don't mean in a sense of like nobody can come to my house and come in my bedroom, but the only people allowed to have intimacy in our bedroom is me and my mate. Like, I'm not going to have me, my mate, in another party. So I would never be that person that would be agreeable to a threesome. That ain't me. So those are things that I would have to make sure my mate knew ahead of time. I think there's a lot of other things too. You have to let your mate know ahead of time to see, like, do you want to sign up for this? Are you ready to sign on the dotted line for this? because this is who I am and this is what it is. So you have to make sure that when you have a mate, and not just the intimacy in your bedroom, but across the board with everything, you have to make sure that they understand and they know this is what you're about to sign up for. Are you good? Are you
Mhm.
good? Because a lot of times I think people, we all put our best foot forward when we're dating. I don't think there's anybody out there in the world when they're dating, they don't put their best foot forward. And the thing is, though, to some degree, I'm not saying on every level, you got to keep up that same energy that you did to get with the person when you're with the person. You got to keep up that same energy, and you gotta you just gotta you have to be open and always willing to still date your mate way beyond the honeymoon period. I guess that's the best way I could put that.
The honeymoon phase. The
Yeah.
honeymoon phase. When the honeymoon's over, what do you have? That's what you really have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of times we, like you said, you put your best foot forward. Your man comes over, you got the lingerie on, you're looking good, and after you get comfortable, now your head wrapped up with some stuff on your face, and it's like, who the hell? So I mean, you want to know who you're getting with.
Your audio is really bad for me.
As
It's
far as too low,
horrible. No, it's not too low. It's like muffled and it's kind of messed up.
uh, you can check on that. Um,
That sounds better. Mm,
that's better.
not really. I don't know what's going on. Now I don't hear you at all.
You don't hear me at all.
Now I hear you.
Oh, okay, is that better?
It's better.
Okay, so you know what I'm saying. So your rules in your bedroom is between y'all. I just think that that's that sacred place. Just like you're married, when people get married, they say, you know, let nobody come in your circle. Let no one come into your circle. In your bedroom, I really believe that. And so it's like when you're in your bedroom, what goes on in your bedroom stays in your bedroom. Whatever Jackie told you, or whatever Sam told me, or whatever, it stays in that room. And I think that's the sacred place where things go on. Um, as far as the intimacy side, whatever we agree to, it can be outside the bedroom too. But I mean, or you can just say inside the house. But that bedroom is figuratively speaking. You're talking about the house. Like when we're in the house, whatever we do is what we do. And this is not a booty call or a situation like that. So you shouldn't be talking to your homegirl about what happened last night, or I'm talking to my boy about what happened last night. That's between us. I think there's sacred things happen in the bed, inside that house. That's your union, and so you have to secure and protect that at any cost. You shouldn't. No one supposed to come in there and be disrespectful. You know what I mean? Nobody. If you notice, when people have parties, they close their bedroom door. You put your coats in this room. A lot of people will do that. This is off limits. So that's how I feel. Certain things are just off limits. But y'all both have to be on the same page. That's where that comes in. Y'all both have to be on the same page. If you're not on the same page, then there's going to be a problem.
Oh, it's going to be a whole problem. It's the echo. I don't know what you're doing.
I don't hear echo.
I do.
That's on your side.
All right, we'll carry on, but it's bad. I don't know, Tia, what are you hearing? You sure you're not trying to be on your phone in the podcast, are you?
No.
You have something else open?
Mm-mm. No.
All right. All right, we'll continue on, but I don't know why I'm hearing this echo. Did you turn something down?
Mm-mm. I was
All right.
trying.
What?
I was putting my phone on vibrate. So I got my new phone. I ain't set it up yet.
All right.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So all right. So we talked about the bedroom rule, so to speak. What do you want to bring up next?
So earlier you said you didn't understand what I was saying. So, uh, what was that question I sent you earlier? I can remember it. Oh, when do you accept your when do you accept your part in a breakup? When I
What do you
say
mean?
that, like, okay, a lot of times when you hear a breakup, you hear from one side about what he didn't do or what he did or what she didn't do and what she did. And when do you accept your part in that? Whether what you didn't do or what you did wrong or what you
What
didn't
if
pay
you didn't do
attention
anything
to.
wrong?
Huh?
What if you didn't do anything wrong?
Anyway, also, yeah, Miss Never Wrong. In signs, when the sign was in front of you and you knew it wasn't a good situation, but you stayed anyway. Because it could be a lot of different things. It's comfortable. It's easier to split the bills with two people than it is with one person. Um, Kids, got a family. There's so many different reasons why people won't leave. And so, when do you accept your part in it? You know what I mean? A lot of people like to throw that out. And so that came to me today. Um, and it just came to me. Actually, I heard a song, Mary J. Blige, "Not Gonna Cry." And of course, it made me think about the movie Waiting to Exhale. And I thought about how many women were just male bashing when that movie came out, when the book came out. And I always looked at it as not saying the guys wasn't wrong, but it was women who made bad choices in men.
Mm,
And
mm-mm.
so, when do you accept that you made a bad choice? Sometimes the person will tell you who they are, and it's man or woman. Sometimes the person will tell you who they are. And when do you accept the fact that, okay, I made a bad choice?
Well, okay, good question, right? But let's do this. It's like sometimes you don't know until you know, right? So normally, I'm not saying not ever, but normally from the gate, the person doesn't show that side of them if that's who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't. And I have this girlfriend, she passed away, but I mean, I never forget this statement that she said. Don't wait till I'm locked and loaded to throw out all the nutty stuff and the messy stuff, because sometimes it's harder for people to part once their heart is all in it. Okay. So we can say anything, but until you're in a situation, you don't truly know how you're going to respond and act. Maybe after you've been in certain situations enough, like, you know what? I'm seeing those same similar signs. I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to nip this off in the bud before I get too far in it. But the first couple of times maybe you experienced it, you might give the person a chance after chance after chance, right? So yes, I do believe that people show you signs of who they are along the way. But it's a mixture of, do I forgive this person because they ask for forgiveness? Or does the minute someone shows me something I don't like, do I just cut it off and just move on from there? Because people are human, right? We're all human and mistakes happen and people will do things that you don't like. But I say this, Once you start to see a pattern, forget about the words that's coming out their mouth. Know that that's who they are. So if the minute someone does something, I'm not going to say you should cut them off, but you got to put a little ticker in your brain to say, all right, let me make note of that. They do it again. You like, all right, I'm going to make note of that. Now, we're not going to play baseball with the 3 strikes you out, but in some sense, you got to say to yourself, all right, what little pieces should I add up and take it as this is who this person is? And God is giving me the signs to say, yo, boo, listen, chick, I'm showing you, I'm allowing this person to show you who they really are. Who you gonna believe, them or me? So you gotta figure things out. So a lot of people like to say when you keep getting in similar relationships, they always want to say, well, what's wrong with you? It could be a mixture of something that you keep attracting to you. It could be just a mixture of, what, people are people. So I don't know. And then the other part of that is too, that maybe sometimes you got to sit back. If you keep bringing back the same type of people in your life, maybe you got to sit back and say, you know what, let me not have a relationship for a while until I figure out that thing that has me keep attracting this certain type of person into my life. So it's so many factors that you have to kind of you hear an echo static with Kevin. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with that. So we tried to fix it. I feel like it's a little better. Now I do hear like an echo. Kevin, you sure you're not in any other like on your phone? You shut everything down? All right, I don't know what it is. And it's funny because when I have interviews with other people, I'm not getting the echo. So I don't know. All right. So I'm just static. I don't know what it is, what it could be. And I checked my mic and everything. Um maybe I will get a I
Clear over
am
here.
hearing feedback.
You sound clear over here.
Yeah, I do hear a little bit of feedback. It's crazy. And it's funny because I just did a little interview thing and it was none of the feedback.
Mhm.
But I do hear when I'm talking. It's very low, but I hear it. So what are your thoughts?
Well, at some point you have to uh look at yourself in any situation because you're the common denominator. In any situation, you're the common denominator, and so it falls somewhat on yourself. And with that being said, you have to yes, Tia. And so with that being said, you have to look at yourself, and before you start to point a finger and this one and that one, you got to look at yourself, and that's something I had to do. And you got to accept you know, we all coulda, shoulda, woulda, but either you made a bad choice or you just made a bad decision or a bad situation. And not saying it's all your fault, but what part did you play? Something my dad used to say to me: when you find yourself in a situation, how much percentage of you caused that situation? 0%, 90%, 10%. So you have to look at it. Like people say, I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sometimes it's telling you to leave. That's one thing I learned about going to parties and stuff. When something don't look right and something don't feel right, I don't care how the party going. I don't care how fine the women are. When something don't feel right, I get the boogieing.
Yeah,
And,
but let me
and it's just something. And so I feel the same way in some of these relationships where if you don't feel something um Tia got a problem with her comments. I can't see her comments. But what I was saying is that, you know, in situations you have to look at it and say, okay, was I just sitting there and this person walked up to me and just smacked me? Did I allow it? Did I not see that they were crazy? Did I not see that they were, possessive or whatever the situation was? There had to be a sign there. You can't sit there and say, okay, uh, well, he's a cheater, but you met him and he had a woman when you met him. Well, duh.
Well, okay.
It's like okay. I give you example. Good example. Sherry Shepherd, and when a lot of people was chiming in talking about dude was weak and he was a punk because she had to pay him alimony or whatever. And like somebody said, you knew he made $12 an hour when you met him. You know what I mean? You can't cry that he's not doing X, Y, Z. You knew he. I can't sit here and say, "Oh, Cheryl go to church too much." But when I met you, you was going to church. I knew what I got into. So the thing is that when you look at a situation, it's easy to point the finger, but you have to look at yourself and ask yourself, what part? And the point I'm asking is, when do you accept your part? Because I think at some point, if you don't self-check, how do you step into the next relationship?
You got to self-check. And so of course you got to self-check, right? But my thing is, you can self-check all you want. You have no control over the other person.
If the other control over you.
Yeah, you got control over you. So every relationship that ended for you, you saw it coming?
No. What I'm saying is, though, it took relationships to end before I self-checked. It wasn't right after one. It was 1, 2, you know what I mean? Before I finally sat down and said, let me check myself. And so my thing is, when do you have that conversation with yourself and says, let me self-check?
It is a bad echo. I don't know where it's coming from, but I checked all of my stuff, but the echo is bad.
I don't have one.
So here's the thing. You self-check yourself all the time along the way. You don't wait till a relationship ends. You can self-check during the relationship. So, and I don't think that, although I think that, yes, everybody may play a role in the breakdown in relationships, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a mate situation, whether it's a marriage, everybody has their role. But the thing is, just because it was a breakdown, it doesn't mean the breakdown was 100% on this person or 50%, 50% or 75, 25. Sometimes it is 0 and 100% on the other side. And maybe I say it could be 10, 90 or something like that, because maybe your role and your part in it is that you saw some signs after a while that you ignored. And you have to ask yourself, like I said, why am I ignoring these signs? Why am I ignoring these signs that mean so much? Am I ignoring the signs because I really want to be in a relationship? And am I ignoring the signs because, whatever, I'm so in love? And sometimes it's not like you're ignoring the signs in real time. It's when you look back, you're like, you know what? Yeah, this, that, and that was there. And now that I'm not so blinded by love, I see that those signs were there all along. So sometimes other people in your life, they see it before you do. And it's like when someone comes and tell you, it's not as bad as when you act. Okay, all right. So sometimes when they tell you, how do you accept the information when somebody may see something in your relationship that you're not seeing right now because you're too blinded by love? And that happens. I find that sometimes They see stuff you don't see. And I'm not even always talking about, the person is cheating. They literally see some signs in the person that you don't see. And then they tell you, what do you do with that information?
I call that the sky view.
The what?
The sky view. The sky view. That's the view you look from the top.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you look at a game or something, you look at it, you see everything. But when you're in the middle of the game, you can't see what they see. You know what I mean? So you only see what's in front of you. But people
Mm-hmm.
who have the sky view can see what's behind you, what's behind them, what's behind this, what's behind that. And so they got the sky view and they're seeing it differently. You're in the mix of it. So you can't see a lot of things. And then, blind
What do you
spots
do
or
with
whatever.
that information, though?
Huh?
What do you do with that information?
It depends on who's telling you. And I think, because I'm going to ask you this. Have you ever seen something and not said anything? I have. Because I didn't want to come across, I could be wrong. Now, I got to look at what my relationship is with that person. Are we tight like that? Is this my boy? Is this my homegirl? We tight like that? Well, I know if I say something, they're not going to take it a different way and we're going to get into a fight. Some people are so in love that you can't tell them nothing. You know what I mean? So it depends on what the situation is. And so sometimes I think it's the people who have nothing invested in it. Sometimes somebody who is sitting on the sideline and he don't want to be with your girl or she don't want to be with your man, but she like, look, boo, every time you go to the supermarket, he sneaks over to the next door neighbor's house. Or every morning you go to work, she does this. And they have nothing invested. They may not come from your best friend. You know what I mean? It may not come from your cousin or your uncle or your aunt. It may come from somebody who has nothing invested. So it depends on who's telling you. You have to digest that information and decide how you're going to apply it. Because you got to think to yourself sometimes like, okay, if a guy comes to you and says something, but he never tried to holler at you, he never tried to get with you. It could be some dude, he got a white boy. You say, well, why is he telling me this? He has nothing invested in the situation. So sometimes you may have to listen. Somebody say, hey, baby, you know what? I see you coming in here. Every time you leave, another shorty come in here, right? Now, your girlfriend tell you you're going to jump on it because that's your girlfriend. But if somebody tells you who has nothing invested, who's nobody's friend, who's just like, yo, sometimes you got to listen. So, and sometimes the person close to you will tell you, and you're kind of like, nah, I got this. Don't worry about it. I dealt with that. So, and Francis was the one who said, Kevin, if your best friend tell you something, you ought to listen. And I didn't listen. So that was the reality of it. It was like, so I had to do some soul searching, some self-checking. And that was the first time in a long time I did that. You know what I mean? And so this was the situation. So each situation is different, like I never really dealt with somebody conniving like that, plotting and planning, you know what I mean? It's never really dealt with someone like that. So I was like, whoa. So sometimes people got a better insight on it. And also too, experiences. If somebody experienced a cheater and they've been experienced more than you have, they can tell you, look, dog, I know the signs. Something ain't right. But it's up to you to digest that information and see who is it coming from. Is it coming from somebody who's been gawking at your girl and trying to get with your girl and you think they want to get you out the picture or want to get with your man, or somebody who's not invested who's like, yo, I'm just trying to put a little bug in your ear. You know what I mean? Because I've seen both sides of it. But people trying to get you out the way. You know what I mean? They're just trying to get you out the way. Girl, if I was you, I'd leave him right now. And the minute you leave, they knocking on the door. So it's like I said, you got to digest that information. And one thing my dad said, he was talking about a job, but he said it never hurts to listen. And I turned in a real good job one time. I didn't even listen to him. I was happy where I was. And when I heard about the job, I was like, what? And my dad said, never hurts to listen. You don't have to act on it, but it don't hurt to listen. And so, this is where it is. So, I mean, when a relationship is over, do you sit there and say, wow, I should have listened or I should have acted? Like, when do you accept that part? Because personally, I don't think you can move on until you accept whatever you did in that relationship that you felt was wrong. If it was.
I'm trying to think, and I feel that you do have to do some type of self-analysis. I don't disagree with that. You do got to do some type of self-analysis. Depending upon the situation and relationship, all of the self-analysis doesn't have to be as deep as after each relationship. And sometimes you have to just say to yourself, there are some people out there that they just jacked up and messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And you just happen to bump into them. So what are you going to do? So and everything kind of boils down to people. They say a lot out of their mouth, but I'm one where what you say and your actions need to match up. And you can give me lip service all day long, but if your actions does not match your words, that starts to ring bells in my head. But the conversation here is about self-analysis. I think that's what you're saying, and that's what I'm going to pull out of it. And I will say this, never, I don't regret the past. The past is behind me, and it is what it is. And I'm not going to I would never dwell on it, right? But I do say to myself, well, what made me stay, or what made me do this, or what made me do that? And I don't even dig too deep into that, right? Because each individual you will bump into, it's always going to be a different situation. And some things, can you prevent obvious things? Absolutely you can, right? You can prevent obvious things, but there are some things until the person really show you who they are, you're not going to know. And I will say this, I won't sit in things as long as I have done in previous relationships. I'm at the point in my life where I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to nip it in the bud. If I get a feeling, and whether my feeling is right or wrong, if I get a feeling that the person is not authentic, they're giving me lip service, I'm done. Because I know that for me, where is it really going to go from there? Right? And when you have a friendship with somebody, and I think all relationships, you should start out like it should be a friendship, right? So when you have a friendship with somebody and they can't get it right when y'all friends, where do you go from there? Like a lot of people, they want to get married, they want to get married, they want to get married, right? And I'm saying to myself, do you think that your relationship is going to change for the better because you get married? No. If the relationship is horrible and you're friends or you're dating, you getting married is not going to change it. It's not magical. It's not going to now you're going to have this great relationship. So my self-analysis is never deep. But I do it. And I also say to myself that, you know what? The next person that comes into my life, I'm not going to judge. I'm going to give them a clean slate. Only that person can mess up the slate that me and that person have. I'm not going to judge them on, oh, because this happened in my past, that, and maybe unconsciously I will, right? Because we all have reference points. And you can't help it. We all have reference points. So the stove is hot, and you know that from a reference point, right? Like if you turn on the oven, it's hot. You don't touch it with your bare hands or whatever. So that's a reference point. But as a little baby, you have to tell the baby like, no, hot, right? So of course, in relationships, we're gonna have reference points that unconsciously are going to come out when we meet a new person. But at best, I try to give that new person a clean slate. Like, I try not to bring my baggage from any other relationship into my new relationship. So I kind of make sure I do my own little cleansing, whatever that is, so
Mm-hmm.
that the baggage is not there. Doesn't mean though, because nobody's perfect, doesn't mean that maybe some residue won't come up. But for the most part, I do try not to bring it up. You got to practice forgiveness. And sometimes the forgiveness is like, you got to forgive yourself and the other person. Like, forgive yourself for maybe, why did I take that? Why did I do this? Why you forgive yourself and you forgive the other person, and you stand a better chance when you go into a new relationship not to bring all of that dirt and nonsense. So it's
Well,
about forgiving yourself too.
I learned that because you can hold a grudge and anger, and it can weigh you down.
Yes.
And it feels, even though it's emotional, it feels physical. And when I finally forgave somebody, and I actually called this person and asked for forgiveness, they didn't even know how I felt. I told them, I said, I've been sitting here angry at you for the last how many times, months, whatever. And I said, forgive me, I apologize. And I lie to you not, I was on my way to work and I got in the car and I felt about 20 pounds lighter. I literally felt like 20 pounds lighter because I got that weight off me. And we don't want to hate anyone. I know I don't. Um, because that negativity weighs you down.
Yes, it
You know,
does.
it's such a heavy weight. I don't got time for that. And so for me, you know, forgiveness is a big part. And I tell people all the time, forgiveness is a big part. I always tell people, you got a window, depending on how long the relationship was, you got a window, a couple of weeks to be angry and a couple of weeks to feel whatever you want to feel. After that, you need to move on and start your healing process. You know what I mean? You can't, you know how you have a scab, you keep peeling the scab off and it starts bleeding and it never heals because you keep touching it, you keep going back to it. Sometimes it's a habit, it becomes a habit. You can't help it. You start picking at it, picking at it, picking at it, picking at it. And that's how feelings are. You start picking at it, picking at it, picking at it. Or you got people around you who's picking at it. Man, if I was you, I would have. Girl, if I was you, I would have. And sometimes you gotta say, look, I don't even want to talk about it no more. I don't even want to discuss it no more. Oh, how's such and such doing? I haven't spoken to him. I haven't spoken to her. I don't know what they're doing. God bless them either way. And that was another thing too. I literally would pray for that person and their family in every prayer. I prayed for her and her family to be safe and God take care. And that was like another relief. So it was, like I said, and it made it easier for me to look at myself and say, okay, you know what? I can accept, see what I did maybe wrong or didn't do correctly. But, that's when that self analysis comes in, But a lot of times I feel people don't want to accept their part in it. I think that's the issue a lot of times. I hear people talk, especially women talk, and women say, I ain't do nothing wrong. And as they're talking about their relationship, I'm sitting there like, I know about 6, 7 things you did wrong. I don't say nothing, but in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I know about 6 or 7 things you did wrong. And so I was, and not saying what he did was right. It was a sister who was her man cheated on her, and she talked about a vacation she took to, I forgot what island. I think it was Aruba. Her and the kids. I said, "Oh, your husband?" You want to? She said, "No, he had to work. He had to work. Yeah, he had to pay his mortgage. He had 2 jobs, 2 full-time jobs. Why would you buy a house? You need 2 full-time jobs to pay the mortgage. Didn't make sense to me. And she worked. And she said that's his responsibility. So I said, oh. So she took her money, took the kids, went to Aruba, while this man is working 2 jobs to pay this mortgage. That means her money was not contributing to the bills. I could see how a woman could slide up in that.
So hold on. What was their decision, Kevin?
What I'm saying to you is that I'm going by her words. So I don't know what the decision. She said she told me she picked a house. She wanted a house. This the house she wanted. He found the house. They found the house. And he was paying the mortgage.
You just said they.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he agreed to it. But what I'm saying, he agreed to it. So it's not like she just said he would go. But what I'm saying is, in that situation, how do you take a vacation and leave your spouse at home? And we ain't talking to going to grandma's house. You're talking about going to Aruba.
Did he tell her to go?
I didn't get that far from her words. Her attitude was he had to work 2 jobs, and I went. And I was like, you went on vacation without your husband?
You have sketchy details on the situation, so
I got it was sketchy. But
it's hard for us to really judge and come to a conclusion and a solution for that situation when you don't even have all the details. So first of all, you said they picked out the house, so he was in agreement with it. He could have put his foot down and said, listen, this house is too much. We're going to have to work extra hard just to keep it. So, people got to use their words. What happens in relationship is what you can't do is this. You can't not use your words and then complain about what's going on. Like, that's not right. You got to use your words.
Or you can't, how can I put it? You can't put yourself in an uncomfortable position to try to make somebody happy.
You cannot. But
on both sides.
But both sides. But when you do X and it's going to equal to Y, that's you. You got a lot of responsibility and fault in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell somebody yes, but then go over here and complain to your people what they doing when you should have said no. That's jacked up. And a lot of people do that in relationships. They're partner to death, but then they go tell their mom, their dad, the ba 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 ba, and they're causing chaos and conflict. And the chaos and conflict is coming because they was afraid to open their mouth to their own mate.
Mm-hmm.
That's not their mate circus. That's their circus. Their circus that they the ringleader of, and they need to handle. Because you can't do that. And so I think when it comes to, relationship also, and listen, we all got to talk to somebody. And sometimes all the conversation can't happen with your mate, right? So maybe you talk to your mom, you talk to your dad, you talk to your sister, you talk to your brother. But the circle that you talk to, they have to understand their role too in the situation. So I have friends that come to me about their relationship. I know my role. I listen because sometimes people just really want you to listen. There's others that want you to listen and they want you to say yes to their mess. Okay. And there's others and there's others that want you to listen and they're truly looking for your advice. So I know the difference and I know which one of my friends want what. And, because it's just the way I am, I'm always going to give my opinion on the situation. Now, whether you utilize my information or not, that's on you. But I will definitely, if you're going to talk to me and I let everybody know.
Because you're 99%, I know you're 99% right 99% of the time.
Listen.
You're 99% right half of the time.
Everybody has their gifts from God. And you know what? I'm not going to deny mine. They are what they are. And it is what it is.
You're 99% right half the time. So I'll
No,
give you that.
what you see, Kevin, see, you like to get cute, but no, what I said was this. What I said is I can plan a date, and I said I don't even really have to know the person well to plan the date. And I said I am 99.9% sure when I plan that date and we go out on that date, then I'm going to get a text on my phone. That's what I said. I know what I said, okay?
Well, you're 99% sure.
I said what I said, and I'm standing by it. And I am 99.9% sure that they're going to text me and say how wonderful and how great and how amazing that date was. That's what I said. Since you want to try to get cute with me,
no, I was just saying that. But the point is,
it's all good.
The point I'm making is, and you said something, and for me, like sometimes you got people you vent to, but my thing is that I like a circle of people who check you, who say you're wrong. Now you was wrong. I understand why you were frustrated, but you was wrong. I've always prospered, moved forward when I heard the truth, whether I wanted to hear it or not. I think it's how you deliver it sometimes. Sometimes people deliver it so harsh. But when you hear the truth, sometimes the truth hurts, but it's so loud that you can't turn away from it. You can't turn it off. And you hear it in your head even after the conversation's over. And I do believe that when you do self-checking in that situation, when you look at when you go to vent, like I said, there's people you just vent to, and they really don't want to hear your nonsense. But there's people who's going to tell you the truth, like, yo, this is what you need to, you know what I mean? And not that if I was you, I would do, you know what I mean? Not that type, but just to say, look, what part did you play in?
You love to say what part did you play in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, though, Kevin, you can analyze the part that you played in it. And does that necessarily mean that the next situation may not go to the left?
Oh, I'm not saying it's not going to go to the left, but I think for me personally, any relationship I've been in, and I don't know why, I just do it. I can almost play the whole relationship back like a DVD. And I can pick a scene. And I can almost, like, it's weird, but I can almost stop that scene and see what I did and didn't do. That's when I get the sky view. Why, I don't know. Didn't see it while I was going on.
How has that analysis changed you in future relationships? How did it change you?
It changed a lot. It changed on how I act. I think it made me better as a person. Being true to yourself. You can't be real with somebody if you're not real with yourself. So it made me have to be real with myself about a lot of things. And I had to really look at it and say, okay, I see what that situation was. I see what that was. And I may not have seen it at the time. What
was something that you had?
I had three women make the same complaint. And it sounded as if I was in, like, I almost called him out. That was a person's name, kind of like this. Okay, I just heard this from three different women over three different times. So there must be some truth behind it. And that was about my selfishness. And, my dad and brothers would joke around all the time, boy, you selfish. I had to laugh and keep it moving. But when I heard it, really heard it one time, it just like it was so loud because it was like, damn, I heard this before. And it made me just stop in my tracks and say, and at that moment, well, not at that moment when they said it, but after it, when I was thinking about it, I can go back to the past other two relationships where I was told the same thing. So my thing is, I always thought I knew I was selfish, but I thought I was good at hiding it. You know what I mean? I thought I was good at hiding it. And apparently I wasn't. You know what I mean? It's just like a person who's cheating who think they're good at hiding it and they're not. I thought I was good at hiding it, you know, and I wasn't. And so it made me stop and really see and look at myself and say, okay, you know what? I need to check myself for my selfishness. And that's when I went back and said, you know, okay, why are you saying this? You know, and I actually reached out back to an ex and called them and said, why did you say this? You know, and I don't want to hear because you are like, no, why do you think I'm selfish? And so, you know, I had to stop and think differently, put other people's opinions sometimes at the same level, but sometimes not ahead of mine. You know, sometimes I got caught in my ways. I did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And so you can't move forward when you're thinking like that you know what I mean? And so I would pacify the situation. That's why I thought I was good at hiding my selfishness. I would pacify it with a gift or do something slick, you know what I mean? And to hide my selfishness when really, you know, it wasn't fooling nobody. I was fooling myself. So that's one of those revelations I had to come to.
Mm. So do you feel you're different now?
Mm-hmm. Wait, yeah, because I had you have to self check and you have to. My brother said to me, you know, when you get married, you got to change. There's no way around it. It's like bringing a baby into the house. You can say, "Oh, we gonna do this, do that, do this. We single, we living together. I mean, single, but we living together, no kids. You can do this, do that, do this." Now you bring a child into the house. You got to child-proof the house. You know what I mean? You have to do things differently because this child is in the house. You know, you can't just walk around the house naked or whatever, whatever, whatever. Things change. In the marriage, things change. You have to change. And both parties have to be willing to change. And so those were the things that had to change. Was my selfishness. It was like it hit me like a light bulb. It's not all about you. There's somebody else. You know what I mean? Especially being that I'm a I'm a go getter when it comes to working. You know, I'm a go getter. I work. That's what I do. You ain't got to ask me for overtime. I take it. You know what I mean? Just put it on the schedule. You put me 6 days. Let's go. I'm always been a go getter, and so whether I need the money or not, that's just always been me. And so, like when someone asks me not, when the girlfriend says, "Oh, you know, why you got to work? I'm trying to get paid." You know what I mean? You ain't paying my bills. I'm trying to get paid. Now I got a wife, and she says, "No, I don't want you to stay late. I want you to come home." You know, and now I'm gonna get this money. Now I'm in a whole situation like, why didn't I come home? What did those extra 4 hours really do? Those 4 hours of overtime, what did it really do? I wasn't hurting for the money. We wasn't hurting for the money. So I had to stop and really stop. And so it's like this. Why did I do that? You know what I mean? Why did I do that? Why did I not? She asked me to come home. She wanted me to come home. She wanted us to have dinner together. This is what she wanted. Our days off was always this day and that day. She was off on the weekends. Mom was in the middle of the week. She said, "You're getting off. Come home and have dinner with me." I chose to stay. So well. You know, so I had to rethink my plan and say, okay, you know what? This is not smart. You know? And so then when they called me up one day and I didn't know she was off. I was off. It was the middle of the week. She was off, so he woke up in bed. And I looked, she didn't get up to go to work. I'm like, "What's up?" She said, "I'm off today." I took off, and the phone rang. "Okay, you want some overtime?" And she was right there, and I knew hell and well I bet not say yeah. I bet not say yeah. And I was, and in my mind, I'm always about that. Yo, I get them extra hours. Nah, it can't come in. It ain't gonna happen today. There was a bigger picture. And so, and so that's what that is. So you have to know, and a lot of times, I don't want nobody getting in front of my money. If our bills are behind or we're trying to struggle a little bit, I'm gonna take that overtime. That's just bottom line. As a man, I know we got to get these bills down. Not let I get in front of my money, but just situations like that. Going to the gym. You know, sometimes I did. Sometimes even though I really wanted to go, you know what I mean. Even though I really wanted to go, I love it. I love to lift. Let's say going to the gym. I like working out, but times I've been on the way to the gym and got a phone call and they said, "Why don't you come home? Why you got to work out?" And I'm like, once you get into your routine, especially when you're doing, this week I already did my chest and my back. Now I'm gonna do my arms, and you're like, turn the car around, you go home. You know what I mean? So it's a give and take situation. So I learned a lot. Before I'd have been like, try to swindle away, went to the gym, on the way back from the gym, stopped somewhere, bought us something nice, came home with something nice. That's how I try to swindle my selfishness. You know what I mean? And I always say, like, if I got a sandwich, right, and you want a sandwich, I'm gonna buy you a sandwich because you're hungry. But I'm buying you a sandwich also because I don't want you eating none of my sandwich. You know what I mean? So I'm not really buying you the sandwich thinking about you. I'm buying you the sandwich because I don't want you asking for mine. You know what I mean? Now realizing the situation, you share. You're in a relationship, you share. Baby, I want to bite of your sandwich. I used to get salty. I would get salty, like, ask you if you wanted something, you know what I mean? So it's understanding that thing you share, and that's what you do. So but it's on both sides though. It's on both sides of the fence. I feel the same way. It's like, I think a lot of people are out to prove something, and it 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 messes with their relationship. It messes with their relationship, you know.
When you say people out there, what do you mean?
Okay, I'm gonna give you examples. True story. So the first time I heard about the Fire Stick, right? There was a guy at the job who was selling it. I didn't know you can go on Amazon and buy one. So he says, my man, get the Fire Stick. You get the Fire Stick and you set it up, and I'm gonna show you how to work it and all this other stuff, right? So 3 guys, including myself, all got the Fire Stick. I was like one of the last ones to get it. And I said, look, babe, I don't know how to work this Fire Stick. I just learned how to navigate it a little bit, okay? But he taught me through it a little bit. But he's supposed to get on the phone with me and show me how to really navigate through the Fire Stick. He just showed me how to go. So I showed her what I knew, right? I showed her what I knew. This, you go here, hit Exodus, watch a movie. Other than that, don't touch it, right? So I'm at work and an alert goes off on my phone. It's Amazon. Thank you for your purchase. So the first thing goes to my mind is somebody hacked my Amazon account. And I looked at it, and right after that, I get a text message. Oh, I didn't mean to hit the button. And so she bought a movie, right? So one of the guys I work with, I said, she bought a movie, but I said, okay. He was like, oh, my woman bought like 2 or 3 movies, not realizing that it was charging. And so our boss, who also bought a Fire Stick, his lady, she wanted to watch a show. But he's like he said, don't touch it. We learn how to use it. She bought the whole series. So she spent almost like $200. So it's like you buy all the seasons and episodes. And so it's like, well, when I came home, I said, why did I ask you not to touch it? And I said to say, I say, you, no one was going to tell you nothing, right? And she kind of looked at me. I said, nobody's going to tell you nothing. Ain't no man going to tell you nothing. I'm going to touch this fire stick. And she looked at me and smiled. She says, yeah, you had a problem with the fact. All I asked you to do was let me learn how to navigate it first. And everybody said the same thing to a woman. And every woman went out there had the same response. You ain't going to tell me nothing and hit the button and bought something it wasn't supposed to buy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not a bad thing, but to me, that was a selfish act in the sense of, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just asking you to wait for me to learn how to navigate it, and I can show you. You know, but I thought that was selfish. I didn't trip on it. It was a $5 movie or whatever. But the point was, it's like, yo, I asked you that, don't hit no buttons on this thing. I don't know how to work it. I only know a few moves. I show you the few moves, and that's it. But I thought it was funny that all the other guys, the women, did the same thing. And it's like, you ain't gonna tell me nothing. I mean, that was the attitude. You ain't gonna tell me nothing. And I just thought that was pretty. I thought it was pretty funny, but I thought it was real. Like, wow, this went across the board. Like, people was buying movies and buying box sets, and I'm like, wow, all because somebody said. And one of the guys I work with, his woman told him, I wouldn't have touched it until you told me not to touch it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have touched it if you didn't tell me not to touch it. Like, that's a selfish act. That's a selfish act. So that was my story on that. But yeah, so I just thought that was a selfish act. You know, oh Lord, look at you. You thinking,
I mean,
nobody gonna tell you nothing, right?
no, it's not. That's not even the case, really, to be honest with you. If I can wait, but it depends on what our TV situation is. So I'm not going to be. I'm not one like I like my. There's certain everybody has their thing that they like, right? And so I like my TV, and I like to turn on my TV, and then I could turn on my channels and see whatever. I'm not dealing with no box and no fire stick and whatever else you got going on. So I probably wouldn't have touched it no way. Cause but if my man would have came home and said, listen, we cutting off cable because I got this thing right here, and the cable was cut off because he had that thing, then yeah, I gotta touch it if I need to watch TV and you done shut off my cable, then I gotta figure out what's going on with this thing here, this stick. So it really depends. It's a situation, but it's never a situation of where I feel like, oh, somebody can't tell me something. Now, I'm not really. It's not that deep for me. Again, with me, if I trust you, we can go far. If I don't trust you, then we're probably done. We're done. We're done. So it's for me, it's all about trust. But I don't think it's a matter of you can't tell the woman nothing. It's a matter of which situation did you leave her in. So let's just say the heating system for example. If the man said, "Oh, don't touch my heating system," but the woman is home cold, well, she got to go over there and figure out the heat.
Yeah, makes sense.
So maybe the same thing translated to the TV. I don't know, in all of y'all women's situation, was it that the only way they could turn on the TV and watch a show, they had to involve that fire stick? If they didn't, then I don't understand why they had to touch it. But if the only way that they can see a show was by touching that fire stick, I can see why they touched it, and I can see why hitting one button may have made a mistake and you ended up buying something that you didn't mean to buy.
Well, I'm gonna speak from my situation. We had cable and the channels and everything because I was paying it. The fire stick was, when I first got the fire stick, what drew me to it was you can find old shows and you can watch old movies. So like do like a HBO or Showtime, you're watching what they're showing. You see what I'm saying? So they're showing this and you watching this. What the Fire Stick allowed you to do in the beginning was you can watch it when you want to watch it. So you can pull up the old movies. So I could pull up Beverly Hills Cop. I can pull up a season of Cheers. I can pull up the Cosby Show. This is before I was on Prime. So that's what I like about the Cosby Show. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know why she
So
needed to touch it.
yeah. So you went and like I said, I didn't know. All I knew was dudes had it on there, and come to find out, the Fire Stick wasn't even at 10% use because when I found out what I could do with it, then it became amazing. But at that time, I said all I knew was go here, go to Exodus, hit this button. Then you go through at that time you go through the years, and then you hit a button, and all the movies or TVs come up, shows come up in that year. So you can go to 85. In 1985, you hit a button, TV or movies, and you say, okay, in 85 this came out, or the 18 was out. I could watch the 18. I could watch the season, whatever season was going on. That's why I like the Fire Stick. And she didn't know, but then you had because the minute you hook it up to the Wi-Fi, it knew I got an Amazon Prime, so Fire Stick Amazon Prime, so already had me in the system. So you can actually buy a movie from Amazon. You know what I mean? And that's what she did. She bought a movie from Amazon. I'm like, oh, good Lord. So that was the whole deal. A lot of people connected to Amazon. So people was buying movies. So I don't know how their situation was set up, but mine, the cable was working. Trust me, the cable, this is the first time I live somewhere without cable. I just have streaming services. But the cable was working. My Infinity was working. So 100% working. But I just thought it was funny because the mindset of, and I think to myself, it's funny, but it's not, because why wouldn't you trust me? You know what I mean? If you sit here and you say, look, I'm working on this, I'm working on this situation. Don't touch the computer, or don't do this because I'm working on this. Okay, I'm not going to touch it. If you said, babe, your birthday gift, I couldn't hide it nowhere, it's in this closet, please don't look in it. I have the respect to not look in that closet.
Yeah, but you know, you have to know something. When trust is broken, it's broken, right? Usually people don't, there's some people who just, they look because they themselves are cheating. So it's several reasons why people would look, right? So
Would you look?
a lot of times if someone is doing something dirty themselves, they just assume the other person is being just as dirty and as grimy as done. So they look, right? And
Would you
so
look?
what, for a gift? No. No, would I look? No.
Okay.
It's not that serious.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, every relationship I was in, they normally, I kind of almost had an idea what the gift was going to be anyway. They be like, what do you want? Do you want this? You want that? Or whatever. So so it was no need for me to look. And
Kind
so
of had.
yeah, huh?
So you was always right.
Close enough. Because for my birthday every year, and before the pandemic, I always went to Broadway every year for my birthday, every year. So I knew for a fact, in maybe there was maybe one or two times I didn't know the exact show I was going to, but I knew for a fact I was going to Broadway. I knew that 100%. And so it was, and then if there was some pocketbook or shoe or whatever I wanted, I knew 9 times out of 10, almost 10 out of 10, that's what I was going to get. So, and then outside of that, to be honest with you, in some sense, it's not that serious to me. If the person want to get me a bracelet, whatever. I mean, it's not that deep. I'm not that one that is so deep to me that I got to be digging, looking. Nah, it's not. It's not. And so usually when I'm with someone, we're so in sync that what they get me, I'm always excited and happy about. So, but I don't need to be digging and looking under shelves and in closets to be like, oh my God, what did you give me? Where's it at? And no, if it's under the tree, I'm not going to unwrap it while they're gone and wrap it back up. I can wait. Not that deep, not that serious. So I think we're going to wrap it up, Kev. And I think the message, we'll close out. And I think the message tonight is, it's a lot of things. Is one, as we always say, you have to have a good communication going on between y'all, right? And if the communication is great, go ahead. You want to say something?
No, just to piggyback on that, you gotta, and it may sound crazy, but at some point we all talk to ourselves, whether in our head or whatever. You have to communicate with yourself. You gotta be able to. It sounds crazy, but talk to yourself and
No,
realize
you
like
do.
that sometimes you said times you ask yourself like, what am I doing, or what was I doing, or what was I thinking? You know what I mean? And so that situation is very important. I think a lot of times, like I said, a self check. Um, it's funny because sometimes I hear people's head in my voice who will check me. I can hear my mom or my dad or my brother saying, "Yo, why are you doing that?" I can hear their voice in my head like they're talking in my ear, and that to me is one of those things. So like communicating is very important, but you have to be able to communicate with yourself and understand what you're doing, what your part is. Like I said before, what your part and what your role is in a relationship or after the relationship or whatever. You have to acknowledge that. And I think it's about um, getting yourself together. You can't worry about if I got my stuff together if your stuff ain't together.
Right. So it's definitely, like you said, communication. It's about self-awareness, like you're saying. And it's also recognizing maybe sometimes that you and this person, and no harm, no foul, y'all just don't belong together. And I think that is where sometimes people have trouble, you know, parting ways when they know that, right? Because it's possible. It's possible that you were with somebody and then y'all grew apart and now y'all just not good together. And it's nothing volatile, it's nothing crazy. It's just that you wake up and you realize, you know what? Me and this person, we're not going down the same road anymore. So it's being brave enough to say to that person, like, look, you're a nice person, I don't have this is not working.
But
So go ahead.
get the niceness. Have you ever been with somebody where the connection was strong as hell? And when it was good, but when it was bad, it was hell. And you had to sit there and say, you know what? I can't.
It ain't
I
working.
mean, when it's good, it was good. It was great. It was Tony the Tiger, great. But then when it was bad, it was hell. It was flames of fire. And to the point where you said, like, you ain't talking about the person who's just real nice to you and it ain't really there. I know you're a nice person, but I'm talking about when you got that connection, when that chemistry, that lust is there. And when it's good, it's like, but when it's bad, it goes like, and so
And it goes so long and y'all not good together, right?
it's a roller coaster.
Because yeah, a roller coaster ride is not good. The thrill is good maybe once, okay, but when you want to try to go on a roller coaster 5, 10, 15 times, nah, who's doing that?
Mm-mm.
Nobody that
But
I know
but
of.
some people can't get off the roller coaster. They keep getting back on. Because that's the highs and the lows of the lows. The people like this, they just can't leave that alone. Like that lightning loop make you sick, but you keep getting on it.
Well, they're crazy, and that's not a healthy relationship. It really isn't.
That's
So
Billy and Brad. But you gonna say that?
yeah. So I mean, to close out, I will definitely say this is that one, I think overall across our relationship conversations, we're in agreement that you have to be in good communication. And the communication is the foundation to a great relationship, whether it's with your friends, a mate, your brothers, your sisters, your mother, your father, your uncles, your aunties, your co-workers, your boss. Communication Good communication is the key and the foundation to having a great relationship. You got to be able to communicate. You got to take the good with the bad. You got to be able to take a feedback. And you got to be able to take feedback that you may not necessarily want to hear. Because every time somebody communicates with you, even when it's your mate, it may be something that they're not liking. That may be something they're not feeling at the moment. And you have to be receptive to that. And you have to take it in. And you have to know what pieces of that communication do you really internalize, and what pieces of that communication do you just brush off? Because everything someone says to you, Kevin, it doesn't mean that it's meant for deep reflection. Sometimes people saying stuff to you, that's their own insecurities or whatever. You don't gotta internalize that. That's you matter of fact, you know what, you could give them right back to them. Be like, you know what, take this back. I'm not taking on that nonsense. That's your insecurity, and you're not about to leave that luggage over here with me. I'm going to give you that luggage back. Take it and pack it up and get it out of here. So you got to be strong enough to know that. And I also, when it comes to friends and them giving me information, like you said, I'm open to it, but I'm grown enough to know, like, all right, do I keep that information? What do I do with that information? Like, I know what to do with it when I receive it. I really do. So I want to say this, it's a great conversation to have. And I think people, when they get in relationships, the best thing they can do for themselves is know when to get out, if you have to get out and it's over. Know that you can never fix another person. They have to be willing to address their own demons, so to speak, and their own issues, and resolve whatever's going on with them. Don't regret your past. It is what it is. It happened. It made you the person you are today. And you know what? And nobody's perfect. But I think when you get into a relationship, what you have to understand and know is, what can I deal with? Knowing that everybody's not perfect, you got to know, okay, what are your deal breakers? And that's all that matters in life. Like, people could tell you whatever they want, but is that my deal breaker? If it's my deal breaker, then I don't care what y'all say. I'm not dealing with it, because that's my deal breaker. Everybody has their own personal deal breakers. And don't let anybody talk you out of your deal breaker. But the most important thing, like I said, is understand this. No one's perfect. If you're waiting for perfection, you'd be waiting forever.
I think deal breakers, some people put up these deal breakers to weed out certain people, but then will drop that deal breaker when they find someone they really want to be with. I've seen that several times.
Well, because maybe when you meet that one, maybe that person made you realize that the other thing that you thought was a deal breaker is not that big of a deal. Maybe that's why. But you have to start out with something. You got to have some type of standards. Even if the standards is just very basic, they're breathing, and maybe they have a job. Maybe that's where you start. I don't know, but you gotta have some standards. You gotta have something you start with, because there's this saying that if what is it? It's like fall for everything or something like that. I'm trying to think of the statement.
If you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything.
Yeah, if you don't stand for something, then you'll fall for everything. Yeah, so you gotta have some standards. I got my standards, but that doesn't mean that if I bump into somebody and they don't have all the standards, or maybe they have none of the standards, I might be open to see what's going on, but I'm not going to hang in there forever, and I'm not going to be pulling out my pom-poms trying to cheer them on either. Because when you're a grown person, you got to come to the table with something. You got to give me something to work with. I ain't working with zero. We're not doing that. But
I don't think nobody wants to work with zero. I think we're too old for that.
there's people that do. There's people that do. Because there's people that believe and feel that they can mold the person into everything they want them to be. So there are people that they just don't mind. There's some people that just want the warm body syndrome. And so me personally, and I think I said it before, I'm okay if I'm supposed to, if I never meet a mate, if I never have anyone, like I'm good. There are some people who physically are like, no, there's no way. Like they're like, I want to meet somebody, I want to meet them now. Like me, I'm open to either way. If I do, wonderful. If I don't, okay, wonderful. Like it, I can go on either side. Like I'm very comfortable, I'm very happy, and I'm really good in the space that I am in now. And when I say space, I mean mentally, physically, emotionally. I'm in a very good space.
You
So,
sound like me back in the day.
huh?
You sound like me back in the day.
But what I mean by that is though that anyone that comes into my life is going to be like the icing on the cake. There are people where they're not happy with themselves, and they're waiting to meet a mate because they and then that mate, they try to have that mate make them happy, responsible for their happiness. That is too much to bear for a person. I don't want to get with a person that is not good and happy, and then they're expecting me to be their happiness, because I'm gonna fail you every time. You should be happy already,
Yeah.
and then we get together and it's just bliss. It's one big party. And when I say one big party, that doesn't mean that, oh, we're never gonna have an argument or have troubles or whatever. All I'm saying is I should not be your sole reason why you're happy. You need to be happy, and me coming is just like an extra gift from heaven and God. But when you have a person where the only reason why they're happy is because they got with this other person, then every time that other person slips up, it impacts their happiness. That's not going to be good. That's not going to be good. So yeah, I'm just, I'm good. And like I said, if God happens to send someone, amazing. It will be amazing. But if God happens to not send someone, then I'm going to be okay. But anyway, let's close out, because I got to get up at the crack of dawn. So let's close out. And what are your closing words?
Before a relationship, during a relationship, after a relationship, don't be afraid to check yourself. That's simple. I think that's how it's just like going to a doctor and getting a checkup. It's like getting a tune-up on your car and make sure it's still running. You got to self-check it, mentally or whatever. You got to check yourself. And, this is reality. I think before you can move on in that situation, you got to check yourself. And I think in a relationship standpoint, you can't run from that. I know, because I've done it, where I didn't want to see me. You didn't want to see what you're doing and stuff like that. And like I said, in any situation, you're the common denominator. So it can't be everybody.
We got to touch on that next week, Kevin, because you keep dropping that bomb. You the common denominator. But see, here's the thing. I just want to say this. I don't want to drag this out. Like, we got to go. We're going to touch on that next week, because you about to have me lose my stuff. What you talk about, the common denominator. Yes, a person can be the common denominator, but just because a person maybe had 5, 6, 7 unsuccessful relationships, does that mean they're broken? Do you keep saying they're the common denominator? So let me say this. So are you broken? You were the common denominator in all your relationships. And
It just it made me
but
think
you're
about my
single.
choices. It made me think about my choices.
So you feel all your choices was wrong, and that's the only reason why you're not in a relationship right now?
Mm, okay, I don't regret none of my choices.
I didn't say regret. I
Okay,
said
so there wasn't, but because I got something out of each situation. Um,
you backpedaling. You backpedaling.
so listen to me.
You
I'm
go
not
ahead.
saying what I'm saying is this: to be successful. Okay, and I was the one in those relationships. I was the one. Okay, you got more years with one person than I got with all these women together.
Don't talk about me. Talk
I'm
about
not
your own
saying, well,
life.
most people do. I'm just speaking of me. So I don't have a lot of situations where I could feed on. I'm just going by me. So I look at myself. And the reason why I got this, and this is where it hit me, it was somebody, somebody talk to somebody else, you just overhear it. And the guy said, if you hear the same thing over and over, it has to be some truth to it. And it's like, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, like,
The
yeah,
question is, Kevin, you have been the common denominator in
yes,
all your relationships.
yes.
So I say to you, since you have been the common denominator and you are currently single, what does that mean to you?
I didn't make the right choices. I didn't choose the right woman.
So you think is you single just because you always did not choose the right woman?
I think I'm single and fault of whatever fault I may have done. Um
Hi,
uh
Keith.
in the sense of that I did not the choices I made, maybe in a relationship or whatever. I'm not saying each of my situations, I felt it wasn't what you would call
You stuttering. So
no, I'm
you
trying to
have
think. I'm
been
trying to think. Seriously. I'm trying to think.
you've
Oh
been
my
the
God.
problem. You've been the problem in every one of your relationships.
No, I won't say I've been the problem. I'm just saying that the way I'm trying to word this is that in my relationships, I never felt we broke up over something big. I'm trying to find the word to describe it. You know what I mean? Like you hear the stories, he cheated, or he hit me, or he did this, or he did that, or he wouldn't get a job. All these horror stories you heard, or you hear and stuff like that. All these monkey nut stuff you hear, things that guys do, or stuff, things people do. I always felt every relationship when we was going through our bad times was salvageable. It wasn't nothing I did that was so detrimental that, oh my God, he did this to me.
Well, you're contradicting your word though, right?
How am I contradicting?
Because you said that you're the common denominator in all your relationships and you got to self-reflect. So
Mm-hmm.
you were the common denominator and they all broke up. But this, what you're saying now is everything wasn't a big deal. I mean, what
No,
is it?
what I felt is no. Listen to what I'm saying too. Okay, and okay, I'm gonna give you like you said, like-minded people. One thing about me is I'm loyal. Gift and a curse. Gift and curse. I'm loyal. Sometimes I stay in situations I shouldn't have been in, whether it's a job or whatever, because I'm a loyal person. Okay, I don't ever think I received that loyalty in a serious relationship because I don't think because I know I wouldn't have left over something so mediocre. So for me, my thing was okay, since I'm the common denominator, I looked at how I met these women. I looked at a lot of things. Each personality was different, obviously, but I looked on how I met these women. And one of the things was it was all started off in a sexual situation. and I was thinking sex. I was looking for sex and ended up in a relationship. I was never looking for a relationship. That was the common denominator in my relationships. So being that I'm the person, that's what I came to. So May, I said, okay, let me put that to the side. Okay. And I'm not single because, it's just that, like I said, I took this right here is my time off, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? My time off to reflect and look at things and really look at these situations. And so if all my relationships started off like this, it didn't go nowhere. You know what I mean? Then maybe I need to try something different. And that's where the attitude comes in with the, okay, like you said, maybe we should be friends first. Maybe we should communicate more. Maybe we should, it's different. But when I came to the situation was, I wanted to hit it and it got comfortable and it felt good and I stayed there and I stuck with it or whatever the situation was. But that's how all of my relationships started off. And people say that's all. But so in my mindset is I can't control what they thought at all. I can control what I think. I can control my actions. So let's try something different. And that was my attitude. And that is my attitude. It's something different. So I'm the common denominator. Um, you know, and I do have my flaws like we all do, but I know I'm a loyal person. And I know I'm that person that got your back, especially when you got my back. I got your back to the. We could argue, fuss, and fight, and I will come down and throw down with you any day of the week. That's just how I am. You know what I mean? So I'm a loyal person, and I didn't expect, or I did, I expected that same loyalty. So now I need to stop and reflect on myself, not point the finger and say, "Well, she did this and then she did that." And she did this. I'm like, nah, what did I do?
Got it.
And that's that. So that's how that goes.
All right. I appreciate that. So we'll end here and we'll see everybody not on Thursday. We'll see everybody on Wednesday of next week for
That
Relationship
is the
Wednesday.
20th.
The 20th. And
Okay.
don't forget, let me just show it again. I thought I cover a piece of it because it's a little, I didn't realize what was in the shades in one of them. That's the book. That's this author is coming next Wednesday. The name of the book is Behind the Shades. Okay. It's available on Amazon. She will be in the building talking about how she's been through and been in different toxic relationships. So we're going to have a really good conversation with her. She's going to give us insight into how it's not just that easy to just walk away and leave. I mean, throughout our lifetime, we all been in that relationship probably where it was over way before we actually broke up with the person or the person broke up with us. There are clear signs when a relationship is dying. And one of our relationship Wednesdays, we're going to have a conversation, Kevin, about can you save a relationship that is at the end of the road? Can you salvage it? Can it be saved? Can y'all turn things around? And we do know this, that no matter what a situation is in a relationship, the only way it can work out is if both parties are willing to fight for it. If both parties don't have 2 feet in, it maybe one of the parties can have 1 foot in and another party have 2 feet in, and you can bring the other person back in. But you both have to be in it somewhat in order for it to work. You both have to be willing to make the sacrifices that need to be made so that y'all can stay together. So I thank everybody for joining us tonight on Thursday for this relationship conversation. We have some great, amazing guests coming up. Our normal night for relationships is on Wednesdays. So hope to see everyone next Wednesday, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Chef Kev, once again, thank you much. Thanks for coming through, coming in the building, hanging out, and having this chat with me. I do appreciate it. And see you next week. Bye,
Good night.
everyone.
Deuces.